live and in person, sort of live and on TV. It's the three amigos tonight showing up. We're not exactly sure what we're doing, but we kind of know we're on the Soul Center Experience World Tour. We have a guest host on my channel tonight, Travis, the man, Trav, as I call him. Michael Padurano is next to me. We are talking about breath framework and everything that we're rolling out and what's happening. And we did not prep Travis one bit. He's just here and put him on the spot, and we're going to have him do what he does best. So, streaming man of the year, welcome.
Oh my gosh. Thank you. Yeah, glad to be here. I will be discovering and learning the role of a guest host and what exactly that means in today's adventure. Good to see you, Salty. Adam as well. Robert. Kamakashi. Okay. Kamachi. Love it. Look at this lineup already. Welcome to the party. We are exploring this adventure that you guys have cracked open. I am learning in real time. I've seen a little bit from the sidelines what you've been brewing, but excited to tap into this next chapter, this next season that I've been seeing. Because even without us syncing up or talking or connecting, we are so on the same page and in the same lane right now, Annie. So it's been awesome to see that on the side, and Mr. Michael, the super connector. I don't know if you ever even actually work, or if you just connect and help other people all day, because that's what it looks like from the outside.
That's what he's the omniscient one. All he does is work. That's the problem.
Amazing. Well, this has been a brilliant adventure to watch from afar. Thank you to everybody jumping in here. I see June and James, so many people.
Hi, Danny.
Glad to have you here. And let's start at least on kind of the highest level here that we can zoom in on. This Soul Center experience.
Wait, time out. Jeanette just said duet in demand. Did you see our duet on demand by any chance? Did you hear about this?
No.
Okay, so really quick before we get into what's pertinent and what's this, we have to talk about this because it's super important. So I was on with DJ and Jeanette, and we did a duet on TikTok on demand. So I got up, left the live, did a TikTok real fast, and then I sent it, put it on, and then she duetted me. It was so super cool. And we did Salt and Pepper Push It, because you know.
Oh, ace. That is
ace.
No,
that's what that means.
You just need a little incentive for a little push in the pool.
I was like, you want me to do a TikTok? I'm going right now. I'm doing it.
Hey.
So, high level. Okay. So let's just start like this and say this. Mike, I will let you talk at some point, but I did have a nitro. So you're with me. It's kicking in. So breath has always been a super important word to me. In 2015, in my darkest hour, I got it tattooed on me, on my hip, hidden, only I could see it. And what it meant to me was that you can strip me of everything, but you can't take my breath. That's mine. So that word, keep in mind, has been super important for years as I brick by brick built my life back and came back to life and sort of did an Annie Leib 2.0. And in becoming super close with Mike, we started living with Anitude, over a year ago. And that was this whole sort of heart-centered start of who I was becoming and evolving to. And then it was amazing. And I've met incredible people, made the most incredible connections. And then as it's evolved, I've become more what we call soul-centered. And as that has happened and I've grown and evolved and learned, we created this thing called the breath framework. It's this program that we developed. And breath stands for B is for begin, R is for reclaim your power, E is excavate your core values, A is allow, T is through, and H is healing. So we tied in sort of our journeys together and separately, and we made it into the breath framework. And that's what I coach my clients on. And that's what we're developing these couple groups, which we'll talk about. But I'm going to let Mike jump in. But I just wanted to say that it has just been we're on this world tour because the Soul Center experience is beginning, and we want everybody to know about it and hear about it, and that's where we are.
Nice. Nope, that's not foreign to me. That's the exact season of life I'm in, and it's been so great to see you just finding your lane and your rhythm, as you've kind of mentioned in passing a few times of like, this is it. So it's been awesome to see from afar. Excited to unpack a few more details, which I
Sure.
feel like we are about to get from
Yes.
Mr. Michael. What is your role in this adventure, and where are things heading?
My role. I don't know how to exactly describe it. It's this has been something that um, this has been something that ever since Annie reached out to me that day, March 5th of last year, my life has completely changed for the better. She reached me when I was at my darkest hour. I wanted to give up on everything I was trying to do. It was the day before I got my kids out of their abusive household. 10 days of being within an hour drive of them and not being able to get them out of their abusive house. After driving 1,300 miles to try and get them out of the abusive house, it took 10 days to process the paperwork. So on the 10th day or 11th day, whatever it was, I was losing my shit. Like, I was losing my mind. And Annie connected with me a few days earlier, watched one of my videos, and reached out to me. And on March 5th, she sends me this message: everything's going to be okay. And it's going to be everything. I think it was everything's going to be okay soon, I think, or soon everything will be okay. Or it was something like that. And the next day I get the call from my attorney and the judge signed the order, and I went and got my kids, which then started that journey because I'm still stranded in Arkansas 15, 16 months later. But what that brought was this enormous depression. Because once I got my kids, it brought on this blame, shame, and guilt. It brought on, this is all my fault. I'm blaming myself. I'm in a position of, I finally get them back. They're finally safe with me. But I see the bruises. I see the fact that they weren't bathed. I saw how neglected they were and weren't taken care of, and the trauma that they went through, which paralleled my childhood trauma. And it made me sick. And I didn't know how to handle it at the time. And I went into this massive depression. My thyroid shut down again. I had to up my meds and my thyroid. And then when William Floyd was murdered, it broke George Floyd. Sorry, when George Floyd was murdered, it broke me out of it. And that's when I created the round tables with Gabe, and Annie was a guest on the first one. And we started communicating on a regular basis. And next thing you know, she's like, "You really need to read Brene Brown." And from that point forward, it was this life-altering experience once I started getting all my addiction into healing. So I basically channeled my addictions and my escapism into healing. All the drugs, all the alcohol, all the porn, all the strip clubs, all the other stuff that I used to escape behind, the womanizing, everything that I did, gambling. I mean, there were so many of them. They were all to hide from myself.
Wait, time out. You were sober for 14 years. So it wasn't like this was stopped. It was 14 years.
I was sober. I was sober 14 years before I did a single drop of emotional work. So, like, I wasn't living sober and free. I was living sober and miserable. And that's how I was living. And I had so much trauma that I never dealt with from childhood. I had so many things that I was going through. And I mean, I've talked about so many of these stories really ad nauseum. Like, I mean, they're everywhere. They're all over my live shows. So anybody can go find it. I hide nothing. I'm fully transparent today. And basically what Breath Framework is really built around our journey since those days. Because we were both in completely different places back then. And there was something about our bond, our connection, that lit this flame within both of us. That was this eternal flame to go build and become our best selves. And it was this journey of push and pull and back and forth and up and down and roller coasters and yo-yos and all over the place, every extreme, because what we started doing was going to the deepest core of everything, right? We went from being heart-centered and authentically there and really being empathic and, being there for others and on an emotional level, to creating this soul center way of living over that period of time. And really, it's been since January that I've been in my soul center completely. And for Annie, it was around a little bit later, I think, than that. But it was during that time period that she understood it and went into it. And it's been this journey. And what we're doing now is we're reflecting that back to the world through our through our work that we've done, and giving applicable steps on how to get there for yourself. And we're trying to guide others how to go from heart-centered to soul-centered, or mind-centered to heart-centered to soul-centered. And the quick breakdown on that, because now I'm on a rampage and don't shut up. So
no, it's great. Keep going. It's so eloquent. I was like,
going in.
So mind-centered to me is when you're really living in your head and you're controlling every aspect of your life, and you're not very emotional, you're not very soul-centered, you're not very living into your purpose, right? You're just existing and living in this almost autopilot of whatever you created for yourself, right?
Yeah.
So then there's heart-centered, which is a level deeper, right? And heart-centered is when you get into your emotions, you can be empathic, you can relate to others on an emotional level, you know, and you're able to inspire others from that heart, from your heart, right? And then when you go to soul center, there's something about this enormous jump. Like, it's an enormous jump from heart center to soul center, because we're talking about stuff that I never even knew existed. Like core values, I had no idea what core values were, let alone knew what mine were until December, right? And it was all this work that I was doing last year to trauma therapy, trigger therapy, one-on-one therapy, group therapy, Brene Brown work, and the list goes on, because I went on this whole healing journey in rapid pace.
Wow.
And then I went on my spiritual journey and reclaimed my spiritual connectedness power again also, which I ran from many times. But soul center is when you are living in the deepest core root of yourselves, or ourselves, let me just say that, and you are radiating out this vibration light that goes through your heart, through your mind, and you're able to formulate things that you never imagined you could create. And it's from the purest intention that you can possibly embody within your life. And it's otherworldly, because it's not you. It's your deepest core root of yourself. And what we learn that comes from living in that space, living into our core values, being there every day, is we found our personal freedom, we found our personal fulfillment, and we found our peace. And it doesn't matter what the chaos around us is. I'm still stranded 1,200 miles from home in the middle of nowhere with my 3 kids while this court case just keeps dragging out. And I got to tell you, for the first time in my life, I am fulfilled. For the first time in my life, I wake up and I'm ready to go for the day, and mentally and emotionally, and I'm in this place of joy, right? And I have more happy moments than negative moments. Doesn't mean I don't yell at my kids like I was right before we went live. Doesn't mean I don't get frustrated and upset. Doesn't mean that, Annie doesn't babysit from 1,200 miles away when Sid walks in front of camera and I'm outside smoking, right? Like, those things still exist, but, I'll go after the show's over and I'll go hug her and I'll tell her I love her and I'll tell her I'm sorry for getting angry, right? Like, I own it. I'm accountable. But first off, I'm accountable to myself. And that's the difference. Like, you don't owe anyone else anything. But the thing is, when you start becoming accountable to yourself, you start owning it to other people also naturally. Like, it's just a natural reaation.
I think that's a really important point that you bring up, because I think the common thread throughout, at least what I see with my clients and what I've completely seen with myself, nice sweetheart. We made a deal, you. I thought you were gonna. Oh, you're being good.
Don't stick your tongue out. You hear?
Oh,
listen to this one. You're getting a little. Hey! Be careful.
Okay.
well, no, this is brilliant. This is what it's all about. This lane, this aura, this energy, whatever this is that we're tapping into. This is compatible with any person, any industry, any lifestyle, any religion. There's something about finding that special place that I keep calling it like your lane, Like when you're
Yeah,
just
I
in
love
a
that.
groove and you're in your lane.
That's
But
very
that's
AA
what I
of you to
see.
say, by the way.
Yeah.
It's very AA program. I mean, in the program, they say like stay in your lane, keep your lane clean, like keep your side
Oh,
of the street clean. Yeah, it's
interesting.
very,
So
but
there we go. Look at this. I'm ahead of the game
you're
without
already
even knowing
aligned.
it.
The common thread that I find, Travis, in all of this that I have to note is like, and like I was going to say before, I find it in my clients, but I also found it in us. And when I'm going through this journey, it's just the common thread is self-worth. Self-worth is such an important piece of all of this. When you can find your self-worth and you can build on and fill your self-worth cup, and you know you're worthy and that you matter and that you can put yourself really have a self, find a self, have a self. That changes everything.
No, this is an absolute game changer in my world. I know I've seen the people around me that when they're not in their lane or in that space, you can feel something is off. And I think a lot of the people that are here with us, the room is loading up. Amazing to see everybody hopping in here. Daniel Hall, Bill, good to see you. James has been rocking and rolling. The legendary KDJ is with us. Thank you guys all for jumping in here and sharing your version of your story. Would love to hear where you guys are at in this journey. Have you found that center? Have you found that vibe before? Have you lost it? This is the things where we're talking about. I think James dropped a brilliant comment earlier. I'm desperately looking for, but he said something along the lines of when you finally find that spot, it's like finding gold, and you have to essentially zero in on when you find those moments to lean into them more and more frequently. And it's something that I used to just kind of stumble upon, and you would lean into those moments. But it looks like you guys are putting together something that's a little bit more intentional about, rather than just discovering and hoping you fall into that lane. This is about carving out and blazing the trail for that lane for yourself. How does that process work? How does that start? Who is it for? Enlighten me, because I'm genuinely, I know those sound like planted questions, but I genuinely would love to know.
Have you guest hosted before? Like, you're so good at it. I mean, you're just such a natural. We did not practice any of this. We didn't even talk before this. Travis barely got the link, so just so everyone knows. So this is for anyone who is open-minded and ready to go on a journey. This is not for the faint of heart. This is not for 1 foot in. This is for someone who is ready to say, okay, I'm not in a place of fulfillment. I want to be in a place of fulfillment. I want to be fulfilled. I want to feel peace. I want to understand why I'm not whole. And my journey was such that, like, you know, I had addiction issues. I had mental health problems. I had all these different things when I was trying to fill these voids that I had. Constantly for years and years and years, trying to fill these voids externally because I needed to cover the pain. I needed to feel better. I needed to understand, or at least get numb to what I was feeling, because I didn't understand why I used to look in the mirror and say, why are you not happy? Like, what, you have this life, what's wrong with you? And just beat the shit out of myself. And then I started this journey, and when I came on like this platform a little over a year ago, I was really heart-centered. I always showed up authentically. I always showed up as me, but who was me? That was the thing. It was like, who is this person that I'm presenting as, that I'm showing up as? What are my core values? I don't even know. I feel like I'm using someone else's core values. Who is this person? So that's when the excavation, part started. And when Mike and I kind of went through this journey side by side and had individual and a journey together, we kind of saw this breath framework come to the surface, and breath being that really important word to me. And then as I'm stepping into my soul center, so I got this, as you know, this guy is a very important word to both of us. Coincidentally, I have heard and used the word emes my whole life. Emes is Yiddish for truth. And when I was talking to Mike one time, we were like talking about whatever, who knows at this point. And we were talking about something. He was like, no, honestly, like, I'm telling you the truth, emes. I was like, what did you say? He's like, emes, like on the truth. I'm like, did you just say that word? Like, people don't use this word, right? So I'm like, oh, I'm gonna get I was going to get like warrior tattooed on my other hip or something. And I said, you know what? We both were like, that's the tattoo. And not only that, I'm not going to get it on my hip. I'm going to get it on my wrist where everybody can see it, because this is my truth. So that's when I kind of stood into my truth, and when this whole soul center thing just really started to evolve. So that's where we are.
Yes.
Hopefully that
Loving
answers
it.
in a roundabout way. Not as eloquently as Michael, but.
Well, Michael is occupied with his adventures at the moment anyway. He's loving our special guest appearances. I see DJ hopping in over on Twitch. Good to see people hopping in on multiple platforms. We are officially multi-streaming. Well played. So yeah, feel free to everybody that is joining here in the chat. This is an open conversation with you guys. I'm here for the party and also to learn for myself. But if you guys are curious about what Annie and Michael are brewing, you may have been seeing it. It's more and more frequently. So yeah, if you have any questions that have popped up and you're curious about what exactly this is this for you? If you have any hesitations about it, feel free to jump in the comments. But let's jump back to the acronym real quick and just sync people up, because we did get a bunch of new viewers. Okay. What is this high level framework again? And maybe I'll remember it better this time.
I'm going to quiz you later. So breath started off as a very important word to me, because in my darkest days, when I was stripped of everything I felt, you couldn't take that from me. That was mine. So I got that word in my writing tattooed on my hip. So that's traveling back to 2015. So fast forward, as I built my life back brick by brick, as there's a lot that happened, and Mike explained it so eloquently. I could never do it justice, but we met, and I was very heart-centered. And as I moved toward this soul-centered place that I'm standing in now, we created, mirroring our journeys, this breath framework. So B, it's an acronym. B stands for begin where you are. R is reclaim your power. E is excavate your core values. A is allow, as in allow, don't control. T is through, as in you have to go through, you can't go around. And H is for healing. So that has symbolically, literally and figuratively been my journey, and also Mike's, coincidentally, getting to that place of fulfillment and wholeness, which is where I stand now, and what Mike was talking about, where he is now too. Yo, that's my kid.
I'll unmute to say hi to Sam.
Hi, Sam. That's my bud right there.
Oh, nice.
Flavor.
Oh, Senor Pesada.
Oh,
amazing
yes,
to
you
see.
are not.
The crowd is rolling deep tonight. Welcome. If you're lurking on LinkedIn, drop a quick little comment. Let us know you're hanging out. We can't see unless you say something.
Rose, I would love to hear more about you reclaiming your power too. And Adam, you made a comment. Sorry, I don't mean to push out the guest host, but quick question. Adam said, I'm just starting to get back into my lane. I'd love to hear more about that too.
Ooh.
Lots of people. Yeah. Travis, you're very, very popular. You bring the heat.
I will confess, as usual, I barely have any idea what I'm doing on these, and it usually goes well. So it tends to be actually inverted. The more effort and planning and preparation you throw into something, the more everything just goes wrong. So,
but do you know what you're doing,
this
Travis?
Has worked out.
You are allowing. That's what you're doing. When you allow and you don't control, things end up a lot better, easier, flowing, coming to you, aligning, versus when we try to tighten the reins and control, it's not as good.
No, this was a critical lesson I learned back in the improv days. I ended up taking improv classes just for initially social anxiety, being more extroverted, more public, but realized once I got into it, there was this philosophical next level of thinking about reshaping your mindset to what sounds like is the allow portion of your framework. That's kind of the yes and you allow it to happen, and then your only choice is to react or contribute to that in addition to what already happened. And that's brilliant to see some crossovers there.
And it's, you know what, Travis, it's not necessarily in order, but like the reason we did it that way was because to get to that point of allowing, you typically have to reclaim your power, figure out and excavate your core values, and then you get to a place of allowing.
I'm not kidding.
And then typically the next step is you go through as you allow, and then you get to healing. But like people definitely jump around in the framework, and definitely you don't have to do it in order. We're not rigid with this, but that's just been our experience.
So what's the difference in kind of understanding these levels? I'm kind of getting like a Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like type of vibe here of there's certain levels that we just need to have accomplished, like basic food, water, safety, internet. We can now add to that list. And then you start reaching that, what sounds like maybe it's the heart-centered place where you can start focusing on that deeper level of thinking. What am I here for? Who am I here for? And it sounds like you guys are tapping into like one level even higher than that of really that peak of self-actualization where you truly realize and actualize what you are and what your journey is here. Is that the similar type of comparison of what this experience is like? Is it a compounding type of thing for people to reach that level? How do we get people there?
Mike, do you want to take this one? I feel like that's up your alley.
So, okay, first of all, I don't think it's a hierarchical thing at all. I don't believe in hierarchical things at all. I don't think that there's one better or less than anyone else. Everybody has their own path. Everybody has their own journey. We're all here. Yep, you fell. And you hit my leg. You hit my leg. Hey.
So maybe more of an order of operations is really the context of X has to happen before you can move to Y.
No.
To get to Z.
Here's the reality. Nothing has to happen in any order. You just have to want and have the desire to take steps forward. And from taking those steps forward, things naturally happen on their own. Because here's the reality, right? If this would have happened 6 months ago where she's laying on the ground crying and I'm live, I would have probably freaked out on her. I would have muted. I would have screamed at her. I would have freaked out. Today, I'm sitting here with the voice on, still talking, hugging her and picking her up, right? So, but we're always faced with situations, circumstances, and events in our lives. So there is no specific order. It's good to begin where you are. I mean, that just makes sense, right? Reclaiming your power can really come in any order. And it really depends on what your individual circumstances are and what you've been through in your life. Everyone's journey is so unique. There's 8 billion people on this planet. You have to be able to find somebody that you can emulate and relate to, right? Because you don't know where you're going if you can't emulate somebody else, you know? And the only way you become a leader is by having a leader to learn from. Right? And you've got to find somebody that's willing to be vulnerable, raw, and real with you on a deeper level than heart-centered and mind-centered. You know, heart-centered, you can live through a life on a very deep level, and you can be the best human being possible, right? And you can live an amazing life. But if you want to live a different type of life, if you want to live a life where you are self-inspired, and by being self-inspired, you inspire others to be self-inspired, which is a greater gift than inspiring others because you're creating them to be able to do it for themselves. You're giving them their power back. It's not about come to me, follow me, because I'm going to give you power every day. It's come to me, walk alongside me, and I'll teach you how to empower yourself. And that's what this breath framework is, because there isn't a day that I go through breath every single day. And there's days I forget to breathe, but I still do the breath, right? Because, yeah, go ahead, Annie.
And I think what's important to note is, you know, when you talk about the order, right? Like there's not rigidity, but B is big in where you are for a reason. And that's because when I work with clients, when I work with people, and even for myself, I have to begin where I am. I have to start and meet myself and meet my clients where they are. I can't expect them to be somewhere else further along. If I try to push them too fast, it's overzealous. Like I have to meet people exactly where they are. And that's different for everybody.
And again, everybody has their own path to take. Everybody has their own lessons to learn. Everybody has their own life to live. I mean, we're all individuals for a reason, because we have an individual purpose, an individual soul, an individual reason for being here. And all we can do is live that individual path to the best of our ability. So we need to lean into that and embrace our unique differences.
Yeah.
While we are one race, which is the human race, we need to embrace our unique differences and empower our unique differences and inspire each other to be self-inspired, to be able to lift others up. We fail or succeed as a united race, the human race.
I think what was I just going to say? I was just thinking something, and then I was looking at how cute Sid is, and I lost my train of thought. But no, I lost it. It's gone. It's totally gone. What other great questions do you have for me, Trav?
All good.
Oh.
So
Yeah,
Michael was mentioning this
outside waiting.
concept of leaning in, leaning into things. This is another thing, that I noticed kind of from that improv mindset of leaning into those moments and those signals when they come up. So what, as people are just going through life and figuring out this whole adventure and this new season, what type of signals and stuff should we be reading into? Or
I don't know.
What type of signs?
I don't know if this is, I don't know if this answers, but this was what I was going to say before. I was going to say, like, when I transitioned, when I made the transition from heart to soul centered, and that was definitely like a huge sign for me, because everything started to align. Like, it almost sounds like a movie or a book when I describe it. It's like, is this for real? But like, as soon as I leaned in, as soon as I decided to make this business into my full-time love and baby and career and life, and lean into my strengths and who I am, that's when everything started to change. And there was this big conversation with my dad that I had that was a turning point for me. There were a couple major turning points. And I mean, Mike was trying to get me sort of on this path for a long time, and I just wasn't ready. I didn't realize it. And I was stubborn, and I needed to get out of my own way. And once I got out of my own way, everything started to align. The business started growing. We came up with the breath framework, and we realized that it mirrors everything that we've gone through. And it started working with clients, and clients are seeing results, and things are just happening. And in my life, I wake up for the first time, and this is what I wanted people to hear, is what soul-centered means and what the signs are that you're entering that space, is like, I am psyched every day to do life. And life is not perfect. Believe me, it's far from perfect. And I still have my anxiety, and I still have my stress and the things that I deal with. And I still have to do my meditation and my breathing and my journaling. That doesn't go away. But I'm in this place where, like, when Mike was describing it earlier, soul-centered, like, it comes from the depths of my being. Like, everything that I do, I pour my whole self into. And I'm like a better mom, and a better person, and a better sister, like a better just friend, and a better CEO of a company. Like, all of the things that I do are just all of me now. And that's what soul-centered is to me. That's a fulfilled whole Annie. So those are sort of the signs that I've seen along the way.
Well, that's the finish line we all are looking for. We're all trying to zero in on. And you mentioned this critical transition that maybe both of you guys have some insights on. Annie, you mentioned I wasn't ready. You said I wasn't ready. What changed between the moments, the Annie that wasn't ready for this shift, this transformation, and the Annie that decided to lean in on that and decided to realize, okay, maybe I am ready? What is the difference between those two versions?
Well, I'm going to let Mike answer for me, because I think he probably can say better what happened with me. But my answer right off the top of my head is I just made a choice. Like, I got up one day and I made a choice. I was no longer standing in my own way. I made a decision. This is time to lean in. It was a clear choice. Like, it was almost like the veil lifted. You know, it was a clear decision and choice. This is my time. I'm going to align. And then everything started to just shift. I don't know if Mike has the same answer, but I feel like I made that choice, and that's what it was for me.
For me, what did it for me, what flipped the switch for me was not only, so in December, I identified my core values. When I really turned the corner is when I decided to live into my core values. And I was willing to risk everything, losing anything to live into them.
Wow.
I was willing to lose the most important things in my life to live into my core values. And I just made that decision that I wasn't going to live any other way ever again. And it doesn't mean I'm perfect. It doesn't mean that I don't make mistakes, because I make tons. But what it means is that I have the intent to live into them every day. I hold myself accountable when I don't. And my new term is that I'm hyper acutely self-aware, that me and Annie came up with, right? Because I used to consider it over analytical, which had a negative connotation. And and we decided that it's time for a positive reframe.
Ooh, I support this theory as an over-analyzing perfectionist. I support this movement.
Honestly, though, I wasn't a perfectionist at all. I was more about over-analyzing to beat the crap out of myself.
Wow.
Like, I was my worst enemy. Like, I used to tear myself to shreds, right? And then I would reflect that outwards, and I would do that to others, not intentionally either, not with, having bad intent or wanting to hurt anyone, but it was my own way of processing how I wasn't comfortable with myself. Because remember, whatever we are internally is what we reflect outwards. If we're not happy, we're going to be miserable towards others. If we're not inspired, we're going to not inspire other people.
To your point, Mike, I just picked up a new client that saw me online, and she said, I have to tell you, she said, you triggered me when I first saw you. She said, right? And she contacted me. I didn't reach out to her or anything. She contacted me and she said, you triggered me. And I was like, okay. Now, first of all, the old me would have been like, what do you mean I triggered you? But of course I was like, what do you mean? Like, how did that happen? And she goes, well, whatever you were saying, this is her talking. She said, I thought to myself, how does this girl have it all? And I'm thinking, yeah, I have it all. No, but like she almost felt envious of like me doing my thing. And then she realized as she analyzed it, wait a minute, this is triggering me because I need to start this journey. So it's something to think about for the listeners and for the audience to think about, like, if you are ready to go on this journey, is some of the stuff we're talking about triggering you and making you go, ugh, they're full of it, or, just sort of deflecting or to being defensive. And it's like, that was so interesting when she said that to me. I'm like, that's such awareness that you came around and said, wait a minute, I need to work with this girl because I want what she has.
Yeah. No, it's infectious, that infectious energy. Like, it's something that you just can't do. Like, not enough copywriting or design in the world can match when somebody is attracted to that vibe or that aura, that energy that you have. So grateful you found it.
And just to finish up where I was at before.
Sorry, Mike.
No, you're fine. Before life kicked in, right? Because it's just life, right? Like, I mean, I have 3 kids. It's just what happens. But that's when we flip this to hyper acutely self-aware, which is really using my over analytical brain to keep me within my core values. So now anytime I even wobble out of them, I'm starting to catch myself. When I get triggered, I'm able to talk my way through it and talk it out and rewire these triggers. It's important that you are so self-aware that you are able to catch yourself. Because the trick is, we are not accountable to anyone else. We have to be accountable to ourselves. We have to understand ourselves at such a deep level that we don't pull anything over on ourselves. Because, see, here's the thing. Like, what I realized is my core value, my overarching core value, which is Annie's word, is truth. It's all about truth. I need blunt, transparent honesty. I need clear communication. I would rather be hurt. I would rather feel pain. I would rather go through anything I have to go through. But because of my gifts, my intuition, my being empathic, being a true empath, being a healer, and being clairvoyant, because of those gifts, if I am not feeling fully aligned and I feel like I'm not getting the truth, it starts driving my intuition wacky, and I start doubting myself. So what I've learned is I keep the people closest to me are the ones that are the most transparent. And everyone starts spiraling. Everybody starts wavering, waves out from there. Because I cannot have somebody really close to me if they are not transparent. I'd rather be in pain. You can tell me I'm the worst person in your life. You can tell me that you never want to see me again. You can tell me that I've destroyed you. You can tell me whatever you want to tell me. But I need the truth, because without the truth, I can't function the way that I need to function. And as far as triggering goes, you know, when I first stepped into my core values, I triggered people left and right. Like, I became a human trigger. Now, I really was. I mean, I was triggering everyone close to me, because when I stepped into my core values, and blunt honesty is one of them, it was like this knife that would go through people. And because I'm pretty direct and everything else, already, when you add blunt honesty to that, it really sometimes throws people off, because they're not used to hearing that kind of honesty. And because of my gifts, when you compound it with my gifts, I'm telling people stuff that they're not ready to hear.
Well, just like you just said, Travis, to your point, they're not ready.
Right.
So they run.
Right.
So what would be, in exploring this, and I see even more people again rolling in here. Amazing to see you guys sharing throughout here. This is an open conversation. So if you guys have questions, or even just any general commentary on this subject for these guys, we'd love to hear from your world. Adam, another brilliant man, we know from LinkedIn and all over. He's always all over the place.
I met him on
see
Twitch.
Him on Twitch as well. Yeah. Amazing to see you guys here and sharing pieces of your journey, because this is the real deal. I mean, so many of us, we have our LinkedIn version of ourselves that we put out there, and then there's the true self that we have to address and hold accountable to. So in this conversation of being ready, what does that mean? What does somebody have to do if they're in a position right now where they're just honestly not ready? How do they at least they don't have to go start the whole adventure now, but how do they at least take the first couple steps towards being ready to find their soul center or find their lane in this world?
So I want to talk. I mean, Sid's not out here right now, so I'm trying to take advantage of that. So, you know, while I can fully focus. So here's the first thing. When you said that there was this LinkedIn presence of us, and there's a LinkedIn self that we show, this is where the stigma's got to stop. See, Travis, this is the core problem. People need to be themselves no matter what the platform is. People need to be their truest self everywhere. There is no hiding. Because at the end of the day, you're only hiding from yourself. Because the reality is, nobody cares what you tell anyone else. We think people care a lot more than they do about us, because we're questioning it, because we question ourselves.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, if we don't believe in who we're putting out there, then how is anybody else? You know, if you want to be your true self, be your true self everywhere. You know, don't hide pieces of who you are because of the platform you're on. Why are you changing for any platform that can disappear overnight? Why are you changing for any person that can leave you in a second? Why are you changing for anything outside of yourself? Because at the end of the day, the only thing you have is yourself.
I'm going to deliver it a little less bluntly.
Yeah, sorry. That was,
okay.
See, that was
and
a blunt person.
I'm going to say to people, because I'm the good cop. Okay. I'm going to say to people, it's understandable if you're doing that, but you're hurting yourself when you do that, because you are chipping away at your soul, which is what I did for so long, wearing a mask and not showing up truly as me and my core values. Because first of all, I didn't know how, and I hadn't excavated them, and I hadn't gone through this process, but I wanted to get there so badly, but I don't know how to explain it other than to say I just wasn't there yet. When I became ready, I knew it. I leaned in. And as you know, as you both know, and as everybody on here that knows me knows, I show up as there's no veil on me. There's no mask that I wear on LinkedIn. This is me. I'm not hiding pieces of me. This is who I am. I show up raw and real. But I want to be sensitive to the fact that everybody can't do that. Doesn't mean you won't be like, you can't forever. It just means if right now you can't, I understand. I've been there. I would be a hypocrite if I said I haven't been there. So I'm just trying to soften the blow a little bit. Like there's
No, it's
you know,
this is the reality we live in this the cliche perspective is reality. We have created hyper filtered versions of ourselves regardless of where you go. People do it with this is who I am when I go to the PTA meetings and this is who I am when I go to
mhm.
that. This has been conditioned into people. It's a reality of our current state. How do we get people from this current state to Michael's I don't give up mode and you have that relentless authenticity across platforms? Because I know for me, a massive portion of it is an anxiety based thing that comes from external factors. And there's a piece of like philosophy and stoicism and kind of allowing what we were mentioning earlier to just accept that reality. But at the same time, those are also real humans and real people shaping their opinion, and their opinion shapes our community, our network. How do we break out of this siloing, sort of putting on these masks or these outfits for different scenarios in the world? How do we just get down to this point of having one mask or one, and that's not even a mask anymore. It's just your true naked self in all in its original definition, not literally. And it just seems like a fairly utopian idea. Not to say that it's impossible, but how the hell do we get there? That's what I want to know.
I mean, for me, it comes down to self-worth and self-love, right? You need to believe in yourself and be comfortable in your own skin. And I never was. I never was until 6 months ago. You know, I found it on this journey. I mean, I had no self-worth. I didn't think I was worth anything. I had no personal value. I didn't understand anything about myself. I just wanted to just exist and disappear. Like, you know, because of my spiritual abilities, I always knew that I had more to me than most. Because of
Mhm.
everything I've been through throughout my life experience, I always knew that I was here with a purpose. But because of my human experience, this life, I was miserable. I had a death wish for 17 years. I OD'd, I had car accidents, I drowned.
Wow.
I tried everything to get out of here and it didn't work. And at some point I just got sober and said, okay, I can't die, so I might as well just exist. And then at some point, you know, somebody came along out of nowhere and I said, okay, I don't want to exist anymore. Now I want to live. And that's really what happened. And it turned
Mm.
it ignited my eternal flame. That's the easiest. When I got that message on March 5th, there was something there that ignited my eternal flame that I've never felt like before in my life, no matter what. And it gave me this fire to push through everything, fight through everything. And I've overcome being homeless. I've I've had millions of dollars. I've lost millions of dollars. I was dealing drugs. I was flipping drugs. I was doing all these crazy different things throughout the course of my life. I worked in the stock market. I got thrown out of two high schools. I was a dropout. I worked with the UNDP for 5 years. You know, I mean, these are real. This is my life, right? And it was always ups and downs. But I didn't believe I was worth any of it, so it never succeeded fully. I never was able to cross that finish line because I didn't believe in myself. It was my natural gifts that were getting me to those places. But because I didn't believe in myself, I couldn't cross the threshold to get to a place. And now, for the first time in my life, I found fulfillment and I found peace and I found this
Mm.
internal joy. And you know what? I'm here to say no matter where you're at in life, if you want it, you can find it. I don't care where you're at. I'll meet you there and help you get there. You know, my calendar is
Brilliant.
posted online. You want to talk to me, call me. You want to talk to me, schedule. You know, they're hour slots because I don't believe in half-hour conversations. Because by the time the hour's over, your life will be different. You'll never look at your own life the same again, I promise you. Because I'm just not that person I used to be anymore. I'll tell you things about yourself that you never wanted to hear. But you know what? You'll leave that conversation being inspired to want to know more. You'll be inspired to want to dig deeper, to find it for yourself. You know,
Yeah.
and this is a journey. This isn't just a straight line. There is no straight line in life.
Yeah.
There's not, I'm going to go straight up the mountain, hit the peak, and it's over. I mean, you know, this is a never-ending journey. We're here for whatever we're here for, whether we have a 3-year life or whether we have a 103-year life. That's our journey. How happy do you want to be? How fulfilled do you want to be? How content do you want to be throughout the journey, no matter what the circumstances are? You can find that internal peace to where outside factors don't really matter anymore. Because
Can I just add on one point to that? What you
No.
just said, that they don't matter.
no,
Yes, I can. So Travis, you started this question by, this is an important point that I want to make. You started this question by saying, how do you get to Michael's point of view of, I don't give a shit, right? Like, I just don't. And I have to tell you that I'm never going to be there, because that's not my destination. I am always going to give a shit. It's not going to always affect what I do. So I will always care. It's who I am. I'm never going to say, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks, or, there are most people I do care, because I'm kind, and it bothers me if someone, is bothered by me in some way, but then it doesn't affect what I do. I'm whole. So I'm going to do the same actions that I would do no matter what. And when I was not whole, it changed the way I was, the way other people thought.
So, and let me add on to that too. Don't take me wrong. It's not that I don't care. I care too much. That's another reality. I care way too much.
It's the more appropriate question would be, how do we reduce the impact of other people's opinions and thoughts and feelings and actions?
It's all about getting whole.
That is really more of the ultimate, because I see there's other people, like Shay has it, Luke has it, these like people that just relentlessly throw themselves out there. And to me, I just call it the I don't give a G, because that's what it feels like. But ultimately, it's not being impacted by the negative portion of those feedback loops.
Actually, it's not being impacted by the positive either, because the reality is, what you do is you get to a point where your opinion matters more than anyone else's.
You're whole. You're whole.
It doesn't.
You're bad. It doesn't. It's bulletproof.
Now you can appreciate the good and have empathy for the bad, right? So the reality is, when I heard that from Gary Vee 2.5 years ago, I didn't understand it. I thought he was nuts. How could I ever get to a point where I don't care about the good comments? Like those, they build me up. I want to hear good. Now at this point, I finally realize, when you value your own opinion more than anyone else's, and you believe in yourself more than anyone else around you, you reach a point where it doesn't matter as much. There's just no impact. The impact starts disappearing.
Yep.
And then it's just about being of service to others, right? And sharing your authentic self and your truest version, your soul-centered self. Mm-hmm. Because here's the reality. Yes, I am harsh. Yes, I am blunt. Yes, I am direct. Now, there's times that I'm a lot softer and I'm a lot more gentle, and I can, whatever you want to call it, caress the situation. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the right word is, but like, I can be fluffy, right? Like, I can be a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man if I want, but like, there's a part of it that this is who I am, and there's a group of people that need to hear it this way, because I needed to hear it this way.
No, and it can be. I think a lot of it too is reshaping the language we use. Like, so many words have a stigma attached to them, or the phrases we use in critical ways. So what we're saying, that some people would consider abrasive, or so I guess socially abrasive, coming from a different angle or a different lens. I'm thinking from like Stoic philosophy. You're in like the dream state of in that context. So what somebody else would see the exact same scenario and consider it abrasive or rude or blunt, somebody else from a different lens can see that and be like, damn, he's truly unaffected by the things he can't control. And that is like an
let's not go that far. Being. I mean, I'm working on that state. I'm not fully there.
We're all works in progress.
No,
wait,
that's the whole point of the philosophy. It's
a great question.
Continuous forever.
Can I answer this question?
Sure,
I mean, it is my channel, right? I know I'm not the host tonight.
I think so.
Daniel, it's a great question that you're asking. First of all, it's modeling the way. So you have to find your soul center first.
Yeah.
When you find your self-worth, you model the way for your children. The second part is building and helping them understand their self-worth.
Yeah.
And those start to be cyclical. They merge. So helping your children to understand why they matter and how they matter and who they are as people and what matters to them. And at the same time, knowing that for yourself and role modeling the way, that's how you teach them where their soul center is.
Amazing. Well, we are approaching our, at least what was scheduled, the final 5. And this is a great transition of children or adults. We're still all figuring this out.
Yeah.
How do we start this journey with your guys' framework, your experience, this setup that you guys are essentially laying for people to step into or lean into? How do they get started on this journey?
I mean, I would say the first thing they need to do is if they really want to get started on their journey, reach out to one of us. Just reach out, schedule a call, let's talk. It's as easy as that.
You've gotta want it, right? Like, don't schedule time if you don't want to hear it, right? I mean, if you really want this and you want to understand it, and keep in mind, I've spoken to people that it's taken them 6 months to come back for a second phone call because they just weren't ready at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But then the seeds were planted, so when they were ready, they came back, right? And it's like you said, right?
She was so good, Mike.
I know, it's wardrobe. It's apparently wardrobe change.
Yeah. But, Travis, this is when we wrap it up.
But see, here's the thing, though, real quick. Okay, but it's like you said, Travis. You only see things from your perspective, so you're only seeing things from where you're at. You're only going to hear.
My pennies are red.
Fantastic.
I'm gonna mute you.
I had a good point. I really
Go
did.
ahead, make it. You can only see things from your perspective. You can only know what you know. So if you're ready to have an open mind and talk about what you might not know, then it's a good time to reach out.
Brilliant. Well, that's pretty
Is that
simple
all right, Mike?
destination. I see most of you guys are here on LinkedIn. Very likely you've already connected with these guys. If not, please do. You are missing out. But that sounds simple enough. If you are ready, like DJ says, I am ready. Start that journey. Reach out to these guys. It might not, maybe the official journey doesn't start for 6 months from now, but
that's okay.
This is okay. This is what it's all about. It's a process. It's work, just like everything else. If you were building a business or working on your house or working on your health, it's work that you have to put in. So if you are ready for that, start the journey by connecting with these 2 brilliant people up here.
Travis, I just want to say thank you because not only were you an incredible guest host, you didn't even know what a guest host was, but you were incredible. You stood right into the role, you leaned in, and there was no preparation. You were totally chill about it. So any kind of anxiety or any kind of anything that stuff, those acting classes you took did you justice. So thank you for hosting. We loved being with you. I'm speaking for Mike too, Sydney too. And this was awesome. We got to talk about our stuff and it was great. And everybody that came on and said hello, and as usual, just these guys that come in and support us, it's just wonderful. So thank you.
Love it. Love it. Well, thank both of you as well. This has been brilliant to watch from afar and excited to see what is in store for this next chapter. Because I think this is just the first domino of that ripple effect you guys were mentioning getting started, and you're in the just the early stages of the impact this is going to make. So thank you guys for bringing this to life, and
Good night.
thank you to all our surprise guests for the night.
Yes,
Appreciate
peace.
you guys.